This is the last lesson in our validations module, and today we're going to be learning about what's called a lookup table. Now, a lookup table is essentially a way to import a large file of data into survey solutions, which we can use for our validations. It's especially useful for things like price validations of different products. So imagine you had a survey where you had 10 different products sold at 10 different prices. You would need to write 10 different validations for each price, and it would take you some time. Now, imagine you have 1,000 different products or 10,000 different products. It would be almost impossible to write all of these validations. So we can use a lookup table, which stores all the values we'll need to check these prices. Let's have a look at our questionnaire where we can use the lookup table. Module 02 in our example questionnaire is the livestock roster. We ask a few questions about the different type of livestock: cattle, buffalo, goat, etc. The question we're going to validate today is this question number 3. It's asking what price was received per animal if that type of livestock had been sold. So what we want to do is make sure that the price for cattle is realistic. So perhaps cattle is sold for between 10,000 and 20,000 rupees. But a buffalo is a bigger animal and probably more valuable. So it might be sold for, say, 20 to 30,000 rupees. I mentioned earlier it is possible to accomplish this without a lookup table. You could write a very long validation condition. So you might say something like, if the row code is 10, then the price should be between 10,000 and 20,000. Or if the row code is 20, the price should be between 20,000 and 30,000, etc. for all of your roster. That will be fine for our small example today, but imagine if you had 100 products or 1,000 products. It simply wouldn't be doable to type a validation that long. So that's why we're going to learn how to use a lookup table. Next, let's take a look at the data we want to check this roster against. When you receive your price data, you'll usually receive it in the format of a minimum expected price and a maximum expected price. You may have got this from a previous survey or from local knowledge of market conditions. Let's take a look now at our example price data and how we're going to import this into the designer tool. So this is an example spreadsheet of how I may receive the expected prices for each of the animals in my lookup table. You can see first I've got a column for animal, all the different animals that we have, a minimum price expected, and a maximum price expected. So if the price falls outside of this range, I'm going to display a warning message to our interviewers. Before we can load this table into Survey Solutions, we need to make a couple of edits. So first of all, our first column has to be called row code. And we can't have just cattle, buffalo, goat, etc. We'll need to use our actual row codes that we have in Survey Solutions here, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. Now you notice that we have no column yet for our other specify value. Now for the other specifier, this could be any animal, and I don't know what price it will be at all. So what I'm going to do is make what we call an open validation. So for row code 60, I'm going to say the minimum price can be 0, and the maximum price can be 99999. This will basically allow any value for our other specifier. So I'm going to save this down as a .tab delimited file ready for upload into Survey Solutions. To upload our lookup table into Survey Solutions, we can press here on the Lookup Tables button on the Advanced panel. And then I'll press Add a new lookup table. We have a table name, so I'm going to call it Lookup 02. And then we need to select the file. So I'll choose the file that I made earlier. And then you can press Save. Now that we have the lookup table uploaded in the Designer tool, let's take a look at the syntax we're going to need to use to make reference to it. So first of all, in the purple, we're going to have the name of the lookup table. This is what I just called Lookup 02 when I uploaded it. Next, inside square parentheses, we're going to have the value which we want to look up. This is going to be our row code, so which row in the lookup table we want to look at. And then finally, we have a dot, and then this blue text here is the value we want to return. That's the column name inside of our lookup table. So if you remember, our lookup table had a min value and a max value, so we can specify which column we want to return here. So for example, I will do O2 lookup, the name of my lookup table, and the value I want to find is the current row code, so my @row code system variable. and then .min value. This will return the minimum value column for the current row code. Now let's create the validation rule at question 02, part 3. So first of all, I'm going to start off and show you how I'm going to structure this validation. I'm going to use the .inRange operator. Now usually we can write in two numeric values. So for example here, I can write in that the range needs to be between 100 and 200. And what I'm going to do is replace each of these two numbers here, 100 and 200, with the number from my lookup table. So where we have 100, I'm going to use my lookup table syntax. So I will have the name of my lookup table, square brackets, and the row code, which row I want to look in. Then I will have my dot, and I will call for min price. And what I'm going to do is copy and paste this little section over the 200 and replace min price with max price. Now this question also has a special value. That means if the respondent doesn't know, we can use 0 for none. So I want to make sure this is allowed inside of my validation as well. So I'm going to make it that it needs to be inside of this range, or we will allow self to be equal to 0. I'm going to make this just a warning because it is possible that sometimes the prices will fall outside of this range for various reasons. Let's see how it works. Let's check first of all that our cattle price is checking the right range. So my cattle should be allowable between 15,000 and 25,000. So less than 15,000, if I enter 12,000, I receive the warning. If I enter 17,000, I should not. And 0 should also be allowable. Excellent. Let's check one more. Buffalo. My buffalo should fall between 30 and 40,000. So 50,000 should be too high, and it is. 35,000 should be acceptable. Looks like it's working well. That's all for this lesson on lookup tables. I hope now you'll understand their functionality and that you'll use them in your future work to make sure your data is well validated. And that's also all for Module 4. At this point, you should feel comfortable reviewing a paper-based questionnaire and working with the questionnaire designer to suggest some validations that will ensure you collect better data. Now remember, when you're writing your validations, they can be quite complicated. So take your time, think about what you're trying to validate, and always remember to test thoroughly to make sure they're working as you intend. So now, with the conclusion of this module, we've completed nearly all our work in the designer. We've set up all of our questions and rosters and answer lists in Module 2. We've set up all our enabling conditions in Module 3. And now with Module 4, we've got all our validations in place. Next module, we're going to be finalizing our questionnaire by looking how to do multi-language surveys. And then we'll be starting on the headquarters tool, moving this template we've created into the headquarters tool and getting onto the tablets ready to collect some data.